Welcome everyone in War Eagle. My name is Moira Alsabrook and I serve as an Auburn Clubs coordinator for Auburn Advancement at Auburn University. And for the next 30 minutes or so, I will serve as your host of 18 minutes and 56 seconds, the Auburn Alumni Association Speaker Series. During our shows, we would love to hear from you. So ask questions and interact by leaving comments on our Facebook page. We will do our best to answer them in the half hour we have together. To view any of our previous shows, please visit aub.ie/1856 series, or you can scan the QR code which you see now. Today, I am joined by Jazmine Motley-Maddox. She is a 2009 public relations graduate and has a remarkable career and personality. Jazmine serves as a costume supervisor in television and film, spending most of her time around the Atlanta, Georgia area. Jazmine, we are so excited to have you here with us today.
War Eagle.
War Eagle. Well, let's go ahead and jump in if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Jazmine, you have quite a scene behind you. So tell everyone where you're sitting and what's behind you.
So I'm actually sitting in in Cali Collection, which is a costume shop that we have here. It's a great resource for us. You can come here and pick, any decade of clothes, but uniforms, accessories, you see the hats behind me, the mannequins behind me, lots of shoes behind me. So yeah, Cali Collection, it's one of our greatest resources and assets here in the Atlanta area, and for costume designers everywhere. Honestly, it's a great resource.
Well, it is beautiful. I love seeing all of the different costume pieces behind you. I would like you to tell the audience about your role as a costume supervisor. What do you do in that role, and what does your day-to-day look like?
Yeah, so costume supervising, I always say behind every great designer, there's a great costume supervisor, because where the designer is creating, the supervisor is handling the logistics of everything. So it's everything from scheduling the fittings to making sure we have everything we need for the production schedule that's lined up for shooting the movie or television show. And I mean, we're hiring, we are, making sure we have accounts set up with retailers, making sure we have basically all of the logistical things that are needed to pull off the creative vision. So it's like the designer's right hand.
That's great. That sounds like such a fun job. So
it's stressful, but it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yes, lots of creative opportunities.
Yeah.
So take us back a few steps and share the story of how you entered this business and what was the transition into this role.
Yeah, so it was a very unique transition. I was a publicist for CNN, the Weather Channel, Fox Sports, really in that news and entertainment area. And I took a sabbatical because I kind of hit a glass ceiling. So I took a sabbatical, a year off. And when I was ready to go back to work, I was looking for PR jobs and I just wasn't landing one, which is really interesting for me because I had always landed those jobs. And so I just took it as a sign that it was, I was asking for something new and that it was really time to kind of manifest that and make it happen. So once I took that year off and got back into looking for work, a friend of a friend reached out to me about a job at Bloomingdale Studio Services, which is the studio that basically costume designers come to shop and come to rent out wardrobe from the store. And so I knew nothing about costume design, but went interviewed for the position, got it on the spot. And once I was there, just put a couch in there, put a coffee pot in there, and wanted the designers to come and take a break and kick back and talk to me. I learned so much about the business. And so from there, I actually asked one of the costume designers if I could assist her on a music video shoot. And she was like, sure. And I never looked back. I went and worked that week for her on like 3 music videos, and the rest is history. I'm still here.
That is so awesome. And I love how you just soaked up all of the knowledge and information from all of those other designers. And you basically said, like, come sit and talk to me and tell me how I can do this job. That's so wonderful.
Yes, I was a sponge. I soaked it all up.
Yes, exactly. Well, it sounds like it paid off quite well.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about your Auburn story. How did you get to Auburn, and how did that transition period of being a student graduating, how did that prepare you for your career post-college and what you do right now?
So my dad and my stepmom went to Auburn. They are graduates of Auburn, and we would always go for tailgates for football games, some basketball games throughout middle and high school. When it came time for me to do official visits, Auburn was definitely on the list, and I saw it in a different way. I came down for like a homecoming weekend and got to hang out, go to like a step show, and I really just fell in love with it. Though it was almost 30,000 students, but it really closed in on me and felt like home, which is really important because I'm a Southern girl and I just like that. I like that really down home feel. So once I got there, I didn't really want to go see any other school. I did, but I didn't really want to. And so, yeah, I applied, got in, and it was the best choice. I wouldn't change it for the world.
That's awesome. And I know so many Auburn people said the same thing. Once they got to campus, the rest was history. So that's fabulous.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we have a couple shout outs. So I'm going to go ahead and pause here for a moment and say that Daryl Walker says War Damn Eagle. And India Cunningham says Alan sends his love. So
thank you, India.
Oh. All right, well, let's jump back into a couple questions that we have for you. So your story is really one of passion, creativity, and courage, and just applaud your bravery for stepping out and doing something new when that was not necessarily your plan after graduation. So talk a little bit about what or who inspired you to step outside of your comfort zone and try something new.
It really was, and I was always passionate about public relations. My first love is writing, but it really was time for me to flex my creativity in a different way. I've always loved style. My grandmother and I, shopped as a kid every weekend, would be in malls. I would love to, dress up as a kid, and I really wanted to explore that. People don't take it seriously a lot. The job of a stylist is often seemed as frivolous, but I really wanted to just dig in and kind of get to the seriousness of it because there's storytelling in that as well. So yeah, it really was me just branching out and wanting to flex my creativity in a different way.
That's awesome. And I love that your grandma was part of your inspiration and just would take you shopping on the weekend and just spend time with you. And
she was quite the prissy woman. She was very simplistic in style, but she was always so well put together. Fur coats and jewelry and hats, and she was quite the prissy woman. So yeah, she had a really big influence on me.
That's awesome. Well, I think your style is very put together, and I think you would do your grandma so proud.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some of our students or our alumni who may be interested in taking a risk and trying something new. So maybe they would like to switch their career path or do something they've never done before. What encouragement would you give them and what got you through?
I would say jump out of the plane. Don't, be cautious. My advice now in hindsight would be to have a parachute. I didn't necessarily have a parachute, but I jumped anyway. Have a parachute, but definitely jump. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I find that a lot of people are just afraid to talk, afraid to speak up and say like, I want to do this. I want to learn more about this. So speak up. Don't be afraid to ask those questions. Don't be afraid to jump. Just do it. And then more importantly is just be the sponge, like really go into whatever it is that's new for you, willing to learn. I really had to take a step back. Like I started in this business as a wardrobe assistant. After, climbing one ladder, it was then me having to climb another ladder. But I had to take a step back and really learn the business and learn what it was that we were doing in order to be successful at it. So don't be afraid to learn.
That's great advice. You can learn at all ages, right? Always can try something new.
Absolutely. That's the key to life, is just learning new things and being able to adapt to change.
Definitely. That's great. Well, I'd love to learn a little bit more about the science and the process of how you do what you do. So talk a little bit about shopping for costumes and what goes into that process, and just from one example, tell us what that would look like for buying an outfit.
Yeah. Okay. So we start off with a script. Everything is based off of the script. So we'll read the script, we'll break down the script into, how many characters do we have? Who are those characters? How do we see those characters? And then from there, we break it down even more to say, well, how many changes does this character have? What season is it in the movie or in the television show? What is the action? One of the examples that I love to use is the actor sitting at a table and are they dropping jelly or are they spilling like coffee on their shirt in the morning? That calls for us to have like 4 or 5 shirts versus just that one. So it really is sitting down and breaking down that script and really understanding who the characters are and going from there. Like we do a lot of research images. We might search catalogs, old magazines. We pull and draw inspiration from everywhere. But once we get all of that research and kind of groundwork done, then the fun part happens. That's when we get to go out into the stores and actually like piece together these looks and find, the perfect hat or the perfect shirt but there's a lot of research that goes into it in terms of colorization, action, what they're actually doing, storytelling, like where do we want to see this character? Does this character start out and then they mature over time? Should their wardrobe be a part of that? Are they in skimpy clothes at the beginning and then they mature to the point where they're in like business suits because they've gotten a new job at the end of it? So there's a lot that goes into character building, and it really does take an entire team, but it's a very fun process.
That's great. And you probably feel like you know the actors just as well as they know their parts by the end of it.
And sometimes better because we'll know before they know that they're getting killed off of a show or so.
Oh my goodness, I can imagine. That's so cool. So this was a perfect opportunity to ask. So you were in Bloomingdale's really soaking up all of that information, but you probably had designers come to you and say, hey, I need a white button down in this size, do you have 4 or 5 on hand? So have you developed those relationships now being a costume designer yourself? And what has that looked like in developing some of those partnerships with different shops?
Those relationships are key, especially now in the position that I am in now as a costume buyer for the show BMF. Those relationships are key. I can call, where's my phone? Sorry, guys. I can call stores and say, before I drive across town in Atlanta, crazy Atlanta traffic, I can call the store and I can say, hey, do you have, this shirt in this size? And can you send me a picture of shirts options that you may have that match it? It's really important to have those relationships, and not just in Atlanta, but to have them everywhere. There may be like a Bloomingdale's in New York that I have to call to say like, okay, Atlanta doesn't have it, but do you guys have it? So those relationships are really key. And I would attribute, the success of building those relationships to my past as a publicist and really just building those media relationships. It's super important though. Those contacts are key.
Absolutely. Well, that's great that you have those connections and can call on them when you need something. We have a couple questions coming in from Facebook. Someone asks, what is the most gratifying aspect of your career?
Honestly, that we are making art that will live on and on and on. I think about like some of my favorite movies like Sister Act or Mrs. Doubtfire. And when I think about like those images live on in our minds and in our history and in our culture forever and ever and ever. And so we are literally making the entertainment of our time. So that is really gratifying to me, to look back at a movie like an Office Christmas Party where I started, and to say like, hey, that's a holiday film that I actually was on set. I know where that shirt came from because I picked it up, and I know how Jennifer Aniston felt when we put that Cartier necklace on her neck. So that's really, really gratifying.
That's so awesome. That was a great question by India. Okay, a couple more questions and comments. Carrie Carpenter says, great advice, Jazmine. Congrats to your success.
Thank you.
And then this next question comes from Colin, and he asks, what was it like working on Donda?
Wow. Okay. So I got the call for Donda literally hours before I actually had to be there. I dropped everything because I was not working on a particular show at the time. I was actually doing some personal styling for personal clients. I dropped everything and I think I got the call at like 8 a.m. and I was there at noon. I was there at noon. Kanye is I one of my favorite, just in terms of his genius in fashion design, in building those fashion relationships, and not only that, but as a hip hop artist, or as an artist in general, love him. So it was a really cool experience. I feel like all eyes were on him and on that album release, and so it was just really cool working with the Sunday Service Choir, getting to know his stylist and how particular he is about certain things. Like I think there was one point where he was like, I want everybody to have natural hair and I don't want to see anybody's face. And it was, he was just really, really particular about everything, which is similar to me. I'm super particular about things. And so it was a really good experience. It was honestly the highlight of last year. I think that was the most fun that I had working a project last
That's
year.
so that's so awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple more questions and shout outs. Doris Maddox wants Jasmine to know that she's watching. So Doris is watching today. And then Daryl asked if you are headed to Hollywood for any big movies coming up.
You know what? That is definitely a future goal is on my vision board. I would love to style some people for the Emmys red carpet, Oscars red carpet. Would definitely love to connect with there are a couple of designers who are on my dream board, my vision board, to connect with and work with. Well, I've connected with them, but to work with them on some really cool projects. So no project in particular, but definitely like Michelle, the costume designer of Blackish and Grownish. I would love to work with her. I'm still would love to work with Ruth Carter. So all of those ladies are in LA, and I would love to do some red carpet styling. So fingers crossed that's going to happen. I'll manifest that in the future.
That's awesome. So the final question that I have that came through is, who have been some of your favorite actors and actresses to work with on the set?
Ooh. I loved working with Patti LaBelle on the set of Star. She was super funny. I don't think I expected her to be funny. Queen Latifah was really cool because she's one of those people who sits in multiple seats. And so she knows it from many, many aspects: executive producer, writer, actor, so she would come into fittings and she would be like, I need a purse for this, right? And I would be like, yeah, you do need a purse for this. Good for you to know that. So she was really interesting. She challenged me a lot. Jennifer Aniston was fun. She was just really cool and laid back. Gosh, who else? Jennifer was also shorter than I thought. So when I when I got to meet her, I was like, wow, you really are like a petite woman. But she was so nice and so kind. Gosh, who else? Those are the three that I usually go to. Queen Latifah, though, for sure. Oh, and Brandy. When I was on the set with her, I'm the president of the Brandy fan club. Okay, so I literally cried before my first fitting with her. But she was just an inspiration as well. She would come into fittings and she would sing, and I would be like, "Oh my God, stop it!" Before I like lose it and fan out in here. But yeah, those are a few of the ones. But I typically enjoy everybody. I haven't had a really rough experience with anybody on set.
That's so awesome. I would be fangirling as well. And I feel like I fangirl meeting you because you have such a cool job. And so that's just so wonderful. And I love that you've built those relationships. And I know there are more to come.
Who else is really good too? I want to throw him in here. Sterling K. Brown. He's a sweetheart. Like what you see on This Is Us is who he is in real life. And I mean, just an angel. Like he was really, really great.
That's so great. It really humanizes those big names as well, right? When you get to see their personalities and who they are outside of the show or the music.
Totally. You never know what you're going to get. So yeah, it is good when you have those really good experience.
That's awesome. Okay, a couple of other questions have come in. Glenda asks, what advice would you give to someone in high school that is thinking about going into this field?
Okay. I would say don't wait. Don't wait until you get into college or you graduate. Right now, so much is happening online. You can connect with the designer, connect with the stylist, ask them, like say, hey, I want to get into this. I want to learn more about this. Is there a project that I can assist you on? And you'd be surprised. Now, I will say you may not get paid, but the experience I think is worth having. I had so many unpaid internships that, I can't even, but definitely reach out to whoever you admire. If there is, a stylist that you're like, I really like how they're dressing, whoever, reach out to them and ask them if you can assist or just volunteer or, come into their showroom and organize it, because all of those things are aspects of what we do in the business. And the quicker that you learn those things, the better.
That's great advice. Just go ahead and get started and learn as much as you can.
Yeah.
Okay, Jennifer wants to know, how did you really get started and break into the biz in ATL? In Bloomingdale's, that was located in Atlanta, but outside of some of those initial conversations and setting coffee out on a couch, how did you break into that business?
Well, it's interesting because after my first project, after Office Christmas Party, my phone stopped ringing. Even though I had that interesting time with those costume designers, if you're not, top of mind, they're not really calling you. So my phone didn't ring for like 3 months. And it really took a lot of patience, a lot of prayer on my end, and really a lot of networking, forging those relationships, because again, it's not necessarily that they don't want to hire you. You're just not top of mind. So really reaching out to those contacts, making sure that I was proactively saying like, hey, I'm available to work for whatever position, and then being willing to step outside of your position. So I'm a costume supervisor now, but I also, have to take a step back and buy sometimes, or take a step back in assistant design or, so it really is kind of taking a step back, being proactive and reaching out to the people that you're connected to, and really just patience and prayer, because it doesn't happen overnight.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. This is so wonderful and has been very inspiring for me, just being a part of it. And I know it's been so inspiring for our audience as well. So I really wanted to point everyone next is we've done a wonderful feature on Jazmine in the Auburn magazine. She has a story called Following the Thread that you can read on your Auburn magazine, and it's on our website as well. So I'd love to point our audience there to learn more about Jazmine, her success, her story. And it just is a great touch, just learning more about you on 1856 as well. So thank you so much for being here today. You are a fabulous woman, and it has been so fun to look at every single hat behind you too. I've been admiring all of the different styles. So thank you so much, Jazmine.
Absolutely. I want to just say thank you to you, Maura, for being an amazing host. Thank you to Colin. Thank you to Amy for even approaching me to do this. This was fabulous. I'd never imagined that, going to Auburn, I would be highlighted in the magazine or highlighted on the podcast in retrospect. So I just appreciate you guys for reaching out and having me.
Absolutely. Well, it was a delight to have you. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great day shopping for your set. And we look forward to the next time we visit with you, Jazmine.
Thanks so much, Maura. War Eagle.
War Eagle. Okay, before we conclude, I'd like to share 2 upcoming events with our viewers. Join us on Wednesday, February 23rd for Tiger Giving Day. Tiger Giving Day is 24 hours of fundraising for various projects that support the mission and vision of Auburn University. It's going to be an incredible day of philanthropy and stewardship. As we head into the spring, we are also looking forward to hosting the 2nd annual Women's Summit. On March 18th, you are invited to the Plains for this experience. To learn more or to register for the Women's Summit, please visit aub.ie/21 Women's Summit. Thank you all for tuning in, and War Eagle.